Happy February. We are another month closer to spring, which means outdoor gardening for us in Wisconsin. Today I am going to spend a little bit of time running through my monthly gardening checklist. It seems to get a little bit longer each month, which means we're getting close. And the first thing I'm going to work on are checking the dahlias. The dahlias are stored over at my parents' farm. We did a video last month about how we're storing them, what we check for every month, what is good, what is bad. So check out that video if you're curious. Today, however, I think I'm going to be relocating my dahlias. We've been watching the temperature in the shop for the last couple weeks, and I think it's just too warm. According to different sources, dahlias like to be stored between 40 and 50 degrees. And that depends on the source that you're reading, and it might fluctuate a little bit, but the shop I think is too warm for that. We have tracked it over the last few weeks, and it might be 55 or 60 degrees in here, and I think we can put them in a spot that's just a little bit cooler. I don't know why I have rooms in my house that are colder than the shop, but what I think we're gonna do is put them in my spare bedroom. So the room isn't used, the vents are all shut, it's on the north side of our house and it's over our garage, so that's why it's cold. It's about 45 degrees, which I think will be perfect for the dahlias. We're back home now, and I'm gonna double check that they all look relatively healthy. If there are any broken or damaged or squishy tubers, I'm gonna cut them off and throw them away. If any of them are looking extremely dry, I do have a mister, and I will give them just a little bit of water. And then I do have more wood shavings that I will be adding to make sure everything is covered. It looks like some of it might have settled a little bit, so normally I wouldn't go through each and every tuber on a monthly basis, but because they were in a little bit warmer area, and I'm okay if it makes a mess in here, it's pretty easy to clean the floor, so you don't always have to do this every month. This is just something I'm doing because I was a little bit worried about them. So here we go. Yep, looks a little dry. The tubers that were on the bottom, probably further down in the crate, look a little bit less wrinkled. They aren't squishy. Some of them are rock hard. Penn Hill watermelon. Oh, that looks much better. Okay, that makes me happy and confident. These actually look like the tubers that I've seen more professional growers have. There aren't a lot of these dried out wrinkly tubers, so that looks great. So here's a Penn Hill watermelon that looks pretty dried out. I'll give this one just a little bit of water. All of the tubers are extremely hard. And this is just a fine mist. I've never had to add water to my stored tubers, so I might put this one towards the top. And I'll pack them back in. Similar to when you are packing them in the fall, you don't want any of your tubers to actually touch each other, so I will make sure that I add a little bit of sawdust in between and on top of. As I mentioned, I will add a little bit more wood shavings when I get them stored. And this one, it has some really nice tubers, and it has some that look a little bit on the dry side. Nothing is moldy or squishy though, so I think we are okay, and hopefully they can make it another couple months. What I did notice as I was going through some of the other crates of dahlias, the tubers on top tended to be a little bit more dried up like this one. And whether that was because they were on top and had more airflow to them, maybe they dried out a little bit quicker. I did give a couple of them a little bit of water And I'm going to try to make a mental note that when I look through here next month, see if some of the ones on the top still look a little bit dehydrated, or if hopefully they aren't rotted because I added water to them. Overall, they look so much better than they did coming out of winter last year. Actually, this is one that I purchased from a greenhouse, and then I saved it last year, and this is what it came out of the ground this past fall. It looks so much better right now than it did last spring when I was potting them up or checking on them. They were so dry. Dahlias are done other than cleaning up my mess, but you know, we'll move on to the next thing. Next up, I want to give you an update on the lisianthus and the eucalyptus seeds that I had started in very late December / early January. Overall okay. So first up are the lisianthus that I started actually on December 30th. I tried putting them in one of these styrofoam trays, and I had germination. There's 3 different types in here, and each of them had between 7 and 10 lisianthus growing. We had a little bit of a rough month for our animals, and I lost focus and I missed a couple days of watering. So I think there are 2 lisianthus that are maybe still growing. It's probably a total loss, but that's okay. That's how it goes with plant life, and especially with these little baby ones. If you're not down there watering, they dry out so fast and then they're done. So this was kind of a bust. I'm not saying the tray method was a bust, I'm just saying I didn't watch them. Then in these 6 containers, I have the Corelli light pink lisianthus, and I planted 5 seeds per pot. And kind of a similar story, I had between 3 and 5 actually germinate in each of them, which is amazing, but they also dried out a little bit. So I think I counted last night, I have about 13 of these light pink ones that are still up and they're green, so that's awesome. I will take that and we'll run with it. Then in the last 2 pots here, I had started eucalyptus, and we did a video about that as well. I ordered my seeds from Etsy, and I planted 15, I believe, of the 25. I have one. I had one that germinated, and I can see it here. And last night when I went down to look at them, I actually saw a second one in here. Maybe. They don't look real strong. And in a moment of weakness, I went in and I threw the other 10 seeds I had in here. So we're back to germinating. The one thing I will say about the eucalyptus is I did not have room on my heat mat, so they never got a chance to sit on the heat mat to germinate. Whether that had an impact on them, I don't know. They probably were also affected by me not watering for a few days, so I'll try eucalyptus again next year, but so far it's not looking great. Ta-da! This tray is full of lisianthus. Okay, well, not completely full, but I had great germination on the lisianthus I planted in this tray. It sat on a heat mat, so it got its full germination, warmth, light, humidity, all of that good stuff. It did have a humidity dome. I have a little bit of algae on some of the spots that were a little bit more wet, but when you have them under lights, you have them with heat coming up the bottom and they're in a humidity dome, you know, it's gonna happen. It's nothing to worry about. You could scrape it off if you really want to, if it bothers you, but to be honest, I don't care. So germination was great in here pretty much across the board. I planted 12 cells of each color. I tried to do 1 seed per cell. There were a couple that have 2, but I have 9 of the Voyage Light Apricot seed that have germinated, and this is actually an old seed, so that was from last year. I have 7 of the ABC Deep Pink. A couple of these are a little bit hard to tell if they germinated because they have the vermiculite on them, and to be honest, they're so small, it's a little bit hard to tell. The Arena Gold is also a seed that I had from last year, and I have 11 out of the 12, which is awesome. Does anybody else count their seed babies as they come up? The Flare White, maybe 6. Oh, 7. I have 7. The Corelli Light Pink, which is the same color in the other tray, I have 12. Yay! And the Rosita Blue, maybe 10. Overall, I'm super excited. If I remember correctly, last year I planted 15 seeds total. I bumped one of my pots over and got 0 out of there. And then 5 of the 10 that remained actually made it to June to be planted outside and bloomed. So I should have a few more than 5 plants this year, which I'm really excited about. I'm gonna add vermiculite to all of them, just a little bit. It will help with the algae growth. It should cut that back a little bit or help prevent it. And it also helps keep moisture in the soil, which is good. I'm going to put these back downstairs under the lights and give them a little bit of water. The next thing on my February checklist is actually going through and looking what seeds I will be starting this month. To be honest, I could probably do this each week, but I haven't started a whole lot of seeds yet, and I'm pretty excited and pumped that this month I actually get to start a few more. So I'm going to get out the seeds that I will be starting this month just so I have them ready in the coming weeks when I will be starting them. So all I'm using is a free calendar I got in the mail. You could certainly use something that's more digital, but I like having this physical reminder down in my grow room setup. And all I did was count back from my last frost date and label each of the weeks by number. And then I went through the seeds that I'm hoping to plant this year and figured out when they need to be started indoors. Or if something goes outdoors, I could put that on here as well. So it looks like in February, I have some English daisies that I will be starting, delphiniums, poppies, celery, coneflower, petunias, sweet peas, and onions. So I'm going to look through my seeds, pull out what I need, and then I can just kind of hang on to them for the next couple weeks. I'm not planning on planting all of the seeds that are in all of these packets, but I am working on finalizing my garden plans and how many flowers I think I'm going to need and where all of these are going to go. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll definitely fill up a couple trays downstairs, which is exciting, and it'll be fun to go down there and see the progress of how they germinate and grow. Related to checking your calendar and seeing what's coming up for the next month for planting is figuring out if you have the seeds you need. So now is the time to get them ordered so that you have them in time to plant. I probably have what I need. I know Mom and Dad are waiting on an order, and that has some of the things that I'm gonna be growing in it as well, but it'll get here when it gets here, and if it doesn't, that's all right. February is also a great time to work on the plans for your garden. This year, I have to get rid of one of the flower beds that I had last year, but I'm also going to be adding 2 or more new ones. So I need to make sure that the plants that were in my old bed, the shrubs and the perennials, they're gonna have a new home somewhere. I usually have a list going on the computer, the name of the plants, maybe where I'm getting them from. Probably should have a running total of how much it costs so that I stay within my budget for the year. And that all works. Sometimes I will copy and paste an image so I can kind of get a look and feel of what it's gonna look like, but to be honest, I'd rather go out and measure the bed of where I think it's gonna be, maybe even throw out a hose so I can outline what it'll look like or put some stakes up and bring it in and draw what I think the bed is going to look like. And it just gives a little bit more color and personality to it that it helps me visualize. Clearly my drawings are not of the actual pictures, but it just gives me a little bit of an idea that there's going to be peaches here and purples next to that, and maybe I should not put the yellow right next to there. That's just how I see and visualize things, and it gives me something to do, to be honest. In February, the last thing I want to be doing is standing outside figuring out where things should go. The other thing that I did do for some of my flower beds was I would go through some of the seed catalogs or plant catalogs that seem to accumulate in my house and cut out the actual picture of what I might be planting, and then I can kind of create a collage on a piece of paper, so I will know how do the colors play with each other. It's missing yellow. I need to find something that's a little bit yellow and on the short side. Or do I have blue foliage in here yet? Let's go find a plant that might bring that into the garden. So those are the different ways that I work on planning my gardens. It's a little bit extreme. Yep, it is, but that's okay. There could be worse things, right? The last thing that I have on my February checklist, and it might be a little bit early, but you know, what else am I gonna do when it's 4 degrees outside? I like to walk around and check some of the bushes, early spring flowering shrubs, the fruit trees, and just see if there's any activity or large amounts of damage. This will be the second year that my pussy willow has produced some catkins, which is really exciting. There's quite a few on there this year, so I will be able to pick a couple of them and bring them in the spring, which is really fun. It looks like the apple trees all have little buds on them, which is adorable. The cherry tree, the peach tree, the crabapple trees, they all look great. So I'm very hopeful that we will be heading into spring in good condition. So that's my February checklist. Stay tuned. Hopefully we will continue doing videos like this in the future months, and they'll be a little bit more exciting and possibly more colorful. The temperatures will be warming up here and over the next month, and we'll be heading outside to do some maple syrup work, which will be exciting. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you can follow along with us. Hit the like button and stay tuned for what we have coming next. Bye.